welcome to the first in the Tech Time with Lawrence and Carl series. This is a new and I think fairly exciting program. We're going to be doing this on a regular basis, and we will want to hear from you as to the things that you would be interested in hearing about and seeing about. So please keep that in mind. So let me first go through what we're going to do today. So Lawrence and I, we're going to go through each of the following topics. Lawrence will talk about audio. I'll then go to video. He'll go back to settings and background, and I'll go to lighting. So we're going to demonstrate a lot of different devices and talk about the various options that you have with respect to them. All of the items we mentioned today are going to be on a resource page. So have the links to all of these items, and that'll be made available after today's program. So no need to take notes about what this audio device is or whatever. If you have questions as we're going along, please use the chat function. As a part of our presentation, after our presentation, you're going to have an opportunity for us to look at your video, listen to your audio, and view your setting, and give you some suggestions on how we think you could make your online presence better. So we will be available to do that until about 1:30. Lastly, again, please, if you have any suggestions for future topics, if you have questions, etc., let us know. So now let me start with why this program. No one paid a lot of attention to how they looked on Zoom meetings in the past. Most of them have been, at least in our group, have been peer group luncheons or some board meetings or webinars or maybe some social gatherings. But now people are conducting business, online mediation. And so that's available for everyone. And it seems like in the future, you're going to be conducting a large amount of your mediation business online. When we first started this back in March or a little bit earlier, people, I think, were very forgiving if you were mediating in your bedroom or you're mediating in your kitchen because it happened quickly. But as this goes on into the fall, perhaps into next year, or perhaps it becomes a permanent thing that a substantial part of your mediation business is online, you have to think about how you appear online. So you want to convey the most professional image you possibly can. Because remember, you're not only competing against people who used to be in your physical area, you're now competing against mediators across the state. So the online market for a mediator is not just Princeton. If you live in Princeton, it's the whole state of New Jersey. And that's true for everyone else. So you're competing against all mediators across the state, and your look and feel is really important in conveying your professionalism. So with that, let's go to Lawrence, who's going to talk about the first topic, which is audio.
Thank you, Carl, and welcome everybody. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your sound. And I'm talking to you right now using my Webcam's mic, right? Now, one of the simplest things that you can do to improve your sound, because every little thing makes a difference, is invest in a very cheap lavalier mic, okay? A lav mic is just these classic mics that you've always seen reporters using or whatever. So this I bought on Amazon, between $20 and $25, okay? And I'm gonna show you the difference between me just talking now with the webcam mic, and then I'll put the lavalier on. And it's very easy to change the settings, because on Zoom, you just go down to the lower left where it says mute, there's a little caret, audio settings, and then I would just switch it to
this. And I don't know if you can hear any difference or not, but that's with a thumbs up, you can tell me that's different right there. Now, 20 to 25 bucks. Now, the only thing I'm going to say is last night I just happened to go on Amazon to try to find some of the stuff that I bought so that I could give it to the handout after this call. And of course, with the market being the way it is, this is not 20, 25 bucks anymore, right? So it's going to be more expensive. Probably everything that you're looking for is going to be more expensive, but know that these things weren't very expensive. And if you want to wait, hopefully the market will come back to normalcy. So this is one example. Now these lav mics, what's nice too is you can hide them very easily. I'm going to just show you. This has like a little wind screen on it. You could take that off and hide it if you're really self-conscious about how it looks. You can, if you go on YouTube and say, how do I hide my lav mic? There's a gazillion videos with all sorts of tricks with tape and stuff like that. You wouldn't even see it. Personally, for me, I don't care if you see it or not. So but I could even keep it out of the camera angle and you don't see it really. But for me, oh, I can't seem to hook it on. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Lawrence,
so
do you run it up inside your shirt?
if I'm speaking in front of an audience, I have a lav mic that's run through my suit and it just comes out and it clips on my tie, but it comes under, it's underneath my shirt and t-shirt, like I'm wired to eavesdrop,
Right.
you know, if I was a informant or something like that.
Right.
But
So
I
if you
don't-
can see mine is right here and it's underneath my sweater.
Yeah, so you can run these things very easily. And like I said, there's plenty of videos. But the other thing is the end of this, which I'm not going to show you because I'll have to take it out of my computer, but the end of it plugs right into like your iPhone. It's a 3.5 millimeter end. Now, what you need for the computer, like I'm talking to you off of my desktop, is what's known as like a USB adapter. It's like a sound card. And that'll be in the handout or the link that Carl sends. It costs 12 bucks. Those are still pretty cheap because there's a gazillion places on Amazon. And what that is, one end is a USB, plugs right into your USB port. The other end is a female for the male 3.5 point that you're going to connect it to. Otherwise, your computer desktop won't pick up the sound. So that's like a built-in sound card. It's real cheap, real easy to use. I just keep it hanging out on my computer, quite frankly. And then when I want to use a lav mic, I just plug the lav mic into it. Okay, now I'm going to show you another option that you can use if you really want to improve sound. And now I'm going to go to what I call my podcasting mic. Okay, let me switch the sound on that. See if you can see if this sounds any better. Okay, so now I'm using a different microphone. Does this sound any better than the lav mic that I was just using? Sound a little deeper or richer?
Yes.
Okay, this is a microphone that's pretty big, right? But it's out of the field of actually of the visual. You don't even see it in my situation. But this is not something that I think that you have to get for sure. This was $100. I bought it a couple of years ago because I was planning on doing some podcasting. And so it was a very well-reviewed microphone. It's called the Yeti Blue, the Blue Yeti. It's the name of the company is Blue. That'll also be in the links that we send out. But if you really want to get a really nice audio sound, then you can invest in something like this. Again, the lav mic is probably going to be all that you need, but I just wanted to at least show you this, that you can even go even better. Now, I'm going to tell you, I saw this last night. This was for $350 now on Amazon. So it's really always like a $99 microphone. It has been for years, but the market has just driven things up exponentially. So I don't expect that you would spend $350 for a mic, but I just wanted to at least show you that. There's also going to be in the link another mic called the ATR 2100, which I never bought, but that's also a very good quality microphone that's less expensive than this Blue Yeti. That was usually somewhere around $79. I happened to see that last night. It was $99. So that's also a very good microphone. You can't go wrong with that. A lot of people that do podcasting use a mic like that. Again, that's if you really want to go to the higher end of audio for these type of Zoom calls. My personal opinion is just using a lav mic is really all you need for a Zoom call because it gets the job done.
You went up, okay.
Yeah, I muted myself there. Hold on a second. I'm just going to put this back on so I can talk to you. Okay. So now I'm back to the lav mic, which still sounds pretty good, right? Compared to the
Very
other
good.
one. So I think that's probably going to all you need. And again, that was 20, 25 bucks. There's plenty of them. The one that I'm using right now, just so you know, is called Powered the Wise. I never heard of this company before. When I went to buy lav mics, I did what everybody else did. I Googled, went to Amazon, looked at reviews. This one came with some a 6.5 foot extension cord, which was nice, and I think an extra wind cover. So you can find them for cheaper than that, really. But this one had a pretty decent reputation, and it sounds fine, and it works.
Okay.
So
again, all the information is going to be on the resource page that we'll be handing out. I got a lavalier mic. It was $18. The sound card was $10, and I think they work fine.
yeah,
There are innumerable ones on Amazon. So.
yeah, and so the point is for the combined cost of 30 to 40 bucks, whatever it is, you can really improve your sound, and that's important whenever you're doing video. All these things that we're going to talk about today are just basic things that can make your presentation just a little bit nicer than somebody else, and you stand out. Without it, you run the risk, especially with a lot of these built-in webcams, of it sounding very tinny and picking up a lot of ambient sounds. It just sounds a little bit better with a lav mic or a dedicated podcast mic. So that's all I really have for the audio part of it at the moment, and I'll switch it back to Carl. You can talk the webcam. Unless there's any questions. If there's any questions on the audio part, we should handle that. I see something in the chat. So
no, there was just one about how do you spell lavalier.
okay, yeah. It's called lavalier, but you'll hear the very common is lav mic, L-A-V as in Victor, L as Larry, A as in Apple, V as in Victor. They're referred to as lav mics, but it's short for lavalier. I do not know where that originated from, but I'm sure somebody can Google that and find out where that came from.
Okay, so now we're going to go over to cameras or video. So the usual thing that people first have is the built-in camera, the webcam. I have a relatively high-end ultralight laptop. It's an LG Gram rated #1 in Consumers Report. It was not cheap. So let me show you what that looks like. If you put it into speaker view, you'll be able to see it really well. If you go to the top of your screen and click on speaker view, you'll be able to get a much better view of what the quality is. It's awful. The quality is really awful. And it's not professional at all. And why they had such a cheap webcam built in is, don't know why. So that's your first option. Hello? No. If you have an Apple product, a Mac, generally their built-in webcams are very good. When you get into PCs, they're hit and miss. So if you have one which is a miss, then you need to do something else. So the next thing you could do would be go to the Logitech. Now this is a Logitech C920. It used to be reasonably priced. I could get them on sale, I don't know, $50, $60. I bought a number of them to send out to people who do who are on my webcams, webinars. So I would send them out, and I had a small supply of them. You cannot buy most any webcam today. Just across this country, there are no webcams to be found. So it's useful to say that's what you ought to do is the next step up from something that's built in that's not adequate, but that's not going to be terribly helpful to you because you can't do it. You just can't buy it. So the next thing you can do, and let me switch to this, and it has a slight problem. I warn you ahead of time that I haven't fixed yet, but I'm sure I can, which is using a smartphone as your webcam. And so let me go to this. This is a Samsung last gen. It's a Samsung S6 webcam. I mean, a smartphone. And you get some free software. I'm using DroidCam, but there's a lot of others out there.
Hello?
And there are also some that work with iPhones as well. So you can see the black bars on either side. That's just a setting issue, and I got to find it and correct it. But I think you see that the quality is really good. It's good quality. Now, one of the issues that you have, at least someone said, well, if I'm using my smartphone as a webcam, I can't get calls on it. Well, that's true. And I guess for something like this, you might want to be receiving phone calls. You probably don't want to be receiving phone calls, however, if you're in a mediation session. I never took phone calls during a mediation session, so this might work really well for you. Or you might have you might have replaced your smartphone and you have your old one. This one is about 4 years old and it works fine. I used one that my wife had and it was a Huawei. It works fine. So they're easy to set up in a wireless fashion, a little more complicated, but not really complicated to do it when it's wired and you really need to wire it in. So this is an alternative. And if you don't either want to use yours or you want to, you don't have an old one, well, here's another option for you. So let me go to, okay, hold on. I'm going to share a screen, if I can get over to this. So let me share a screen here. Okay, this is a website called Black Market. And they sell used, refurbished webcams. And they have all different varieties of webcams, and some of them are expensive. If I were going to buy one, I would buy an LG. And so you can see this is an LG phone for $109, a used one. And they come in all, I saw one the other day for $48. And don't forget, all you're using this is as a wireless device initially. You don't have to be hooked up into a cell carrier. It doesn't make any difference whether the battery is good because you're going to have it powered on all the time and connected into your charger. So if you don't have a cell phone available that you want to use, you could look in here. Here's one for $50. Now, I don't know if that's a good one, but you can look them up. $99, $84. So what you could do is find one there that you thought was a good one. You could Google whether it's camera is a good camera or not. They have a year warranty. You can return it, etc. It's a good solution. Now, of course, what you have to do with this is, let me stop sharing. What you have to do with that is have some sort of mount for it. And I will show you this contraption I now have in front of me, which is sort of unbelievable, mostly because some of it is for the smartphone, but also it's for a number of other reasons, which I will now explain. So those are your options with respect to cameras. You can have your built-in webcam. You could get an external webcam if you could find one. You can use your smartphone. Smartphone is really a good option, reasonably priced, etc. But you have to have a way to do it. So let me move on to where do you place your camera? You're supposed to place your camera so that it is really up about here, that level. I thought it was always eye level, but the more I've read, they say about here. So your camera is actually pointing here. So I have, now that's a problem, because if your camera is supposed to be here, but your laptop is down here or your other, what you're constantly doing is looking up and down. It's not too bad for a webcam if your camera is here, because you're just looking out and talking. If you're doing a mediation, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be looking here, because what you want to be doing is seeing the clients who are down there, right? They're down there, you're talking here. That does not work. So here is a solution that I wasn't sure was going to work, but now that I've gotten used to it, I think it is really great, really great. So let me, what I'm going to do is switch over to another. Okay, so I now have a handheld webcam, and I'm going to back up so that you can, let me just put this on speaker view, so that, okay, I don't know if you can see it. We'll take this from the side. It's a stand. I have my, just a little view. So it's a stand that sits on a desk or a typewriter stand, which I had, a laptop stand, and it then elevates itself, right? You can raise it and lower it. So if you can see how it is raised. So what does that do? And let me show you in a different way what it does. So let me go back to screen share. So this is the stand. It elevates up to, I think, 15 inches. So it sits down, the base of it sits on my laptop stand. I now have it elevated probably a good 10 inches. So the camera is at eye level. Immediately below the camera then is the screen of my laptop. So I was actually, I don't know if you could notice it, but I was actually had on the screen the introduction I gave at the beginning. And so it was like a teleprompter. But so that's fine for a webinar because I could use it like a teleprompter. Excuse me, I should be going back into my right camera. Using it like a teleprompter, but also when I'm in a mediation, when I look ahead, I'm seeing the screen, so I'm seeing the other parties, and they're seeing me looking at them directly. So it really works very nicely. This is a device that I bought for, it says $49, but it's on sale for 10 bucks off today. So that's like a $40 item, which is really, I think, very useful. If you don't want to do that, if you don't like that, then you're still going to need something to raise your webcam to look at it. And there are, for example, here's a small tripod that you could put on your desk to raise your webcam or a smartphone. There are floor ones that you could use. There's my floor ones that you could use to hold your smartphone. So there are a number of those kinds of devices that allow you to use both your smartphone on a desk or on the floor. So those are really helpful devices. So while I'm here, let me show you one other thing that doesn't relate to either camera. A little bit to setting, but let me show it to you. It is, let's stop my sharing and go back to my camera. Okay, so this is the chair that I use. Let me go back to the other camera because you can see it. Okay, this is the chair I use. This is a $15 chair, $12.50 at IKEA. I use this chair, and let me show you why. And why you should consider not using something a little fancier. This is my normal chair that I have in my office. Now, what's wrong with this chair? What's wrong with this chair is, first of all, it has this back here. It's distracting. It rocks, it swivels, and it's got arms. And there's almost no way to keep your arms off the arms. And what does that do? When you use arms, it raises your shoulders. And so rather than being natural like that, you're raising your shoulders, and it's not a good look. It also, because it swivels, etc., you're not always sitting up straight. So this is a very expensive chair. It's a very nice chair. It's very comfortable, and I use it all the time, except when I do this. So this is my $12.50 IKEA chair. My shoulders are down. I'm sitting up straight. It's comfortable. This makes a big difference. And next time you look at any news program or anything like CNN, etc., look and see if you can see anyone's chair. You don't. All you see is the person. There is nothing around them. So that's just a little piece of professionalism. This, yes, something Brad said, to judge how we are viewed by others, where is that? Let me chat. Okay, hold on. Is it safe to assume that the quality that we see on our screen is the same as the quality of the video? Yes, I think it is. Yes, that's exactly what they're going to see.
Hey, Carl, let me talk about a couple of questions that came in. So a couple things that I saw. One is, can you use a video recorder as a webcam? You could do that. You're just going to have to make sure that you've got the right connections going on. But most any product that's designed to capture your image, there's always some way to make it work with what you want to do. So the answer to that would be yes. There's another question about screen to protect eye strain. Do we know of a particular screen? I do not know that off the top of my head because I haven't had that problem. I don't know about you, Carl, if you've ever looked into a screen protector for eye strain or not.
No, okay. I haven't.
So obviously the advice on that is Googling that, and you'll find probably 5 or 6 options to choose from. But if I come across something in my travels, I'll certainly be happy to post that as well. One thing that, Carl, that you said that I wanted to double check on, I know you said that there was no webcams available on the internet. I'm not sure, what I took from that is no quality webcams available
Yeah,
because
right.
there's
That
plenty
is
of these,
exactly right.
yeah, there's plenty of these knockoff companies that have webcams that, you know, I can't vouch for anything like that because it's kind of a crapshoot when you buy something like that, but there are places selling webcams. But for me personally, all throughout my years, I've always dealt with Logitech for a lot of accessories, and they're one of the leaders in webcams and mouses.
Right, they're very good.
They're very good. You can't go wrong usually with a Logitech. There's other companies out there that are reputable too, but it is going to be tough to find a reputable company that has a webcam available now since this
Right.
pandemic hit.
By the way, I did try a webcam, camcorder as a capture device. It did not work well. But let me mention one other thing I should have mentioned is if you have a DSLR camera that's relatively new, if you have a mirrorless camera or a newer bridge camera, these would make phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal webcams. And some of the new Canon products have software that you can download onto your computer, and they hook up and play beautifully. Panasonic is doing the same thing. If you have an older DSLR, you might have to get a video capture card. That's another alternative if you happen to have that kind of camera. And that's generally what you'll find that a lot of the remote news people who are on CNN or other places that are not working at home, that's what they're using. And you can see the high quality that they're getting.
Yeah, and there was a question about possibly needing a second computer for note taking. If you're doing an online mediation, you're using your laptop, let's say, and now you've got everybody on the screen, and now you want to take notes, and maybe you're accustomed to using your laptop to take notes right away. Personally, somebody I think maybe mentioned, or the same questioner said, what about a dual monitor? That certainly works. I have a dual monitor system. If I was really caught up with taking notes into the computer right away, that would be the way I would handle that. But personally, what went through my mind is I would probably be taking notes by hand on a legal pad, and then when it's over, if I have to put anything into the computer, I would use the same computer that I normally use to do that. But that's going to be your own personal preference. You can make the Zoom window not full screen, right? You could reduce it so that you have some of your screen real estate still for your note taking. So you could have Microsoft Word up on half of your screen. You could have the Zoom mediation going on the other half, depending on how big your screen is, right? If you have a desktop, you may have a much larger real estate to work with, and putting two right on the same screen right in front of you, forgetting about a dual monitor situation, you can get away with doing that. I know I've done that when I interview people for a podcast. I have on my computer screen, the Zoom screen is half, and then my notes in Microsoft Word are right on the other half of the screen. So you can get away with stuff like that, but it's going to be your own personal comfort level of how big things are. Can you see it? But you can always fall back to old school. Just take notes by hand on a legal pad, and don't worry about that stuff. Because the last thing you want to do is get yourself screwed up technically when you're in the middle of something very important, right? So I would always opt for keep it simple, and then slowly add your technology as you feel more comfortable, and certainly practice it in advance if it's something new that you're going to do. I wouldn't be rolling out new ideas technologically that you're not comfortable with or haven't tried when you're going to do the actual mediation. So practice it first, or just be conservative, because simple is better. The main thing is you want to do the mediation effectively. There was another question I saw, do these recommendations apply to a desktop? My answer would be yes, because normally anything that you're dealing with a laptop applies to the desktop. I think the only issues that I've found over the years are when you go from the desktop laptop to the phone. That smaller mobile device can present things differently and get you screwed up sometimes. But I haven't had any major, and Carl, you can tell me if you've experienced this, but for me personally, anything that I can do on my desktop, I can do on my laptop, and vice versa. I've never had a problem finding that to work either way. But
I haven't had a desktop in a lot of years, probably 20 years. So I've used laptops for a long time, and they're absolutely equivalent.
Yeah.
You know, so.
okay, somebody put in the chat box, they are glasses with blue filter to reduce eye strain. Good to know. All right, so Carl, I kind of jumped in on you there. Did you have something else you were?
No, that's it. So let's go over to you.
Okay, so let's start talking about backgrounds, which I think are really important. Just in terms of making a presentation. Right now I'm in front of what looks like kind of a law background, so to speak, right? But I'm using a green screen right now, which is the way I do things. I have a portable green screen that's up behind me right now, and that allows me to swap in things depending on what my needs are. So I figured for today's call, I would just start out with something that looks, you know, like a typical law background, right? But it's very easy. If you want to go this route, when we send you the link, there's links to a portable green screen. Now, again, I bought this stuff in January, way before the pandemic. Earlier this year, I was doing things that I wanted to use the green screen technology, but the green screen that I have behind me was, I think, $40, okay? And it's a pop-up one that you can take wherever you want to go. So I could do it in my office. I could do it from home, which is where I'm talking to you from right now. And it was very inexpensive. There's a stand that it's hanging from, okay, because the green screen by itself didn't come with a stand. So I had to buy a stand that was like $20, just a regular telescoping like tripod that extended up about 7-8 feet, and the green screen just hangs behind it. And then once you have that technology, you know, Zoom allows you, and many of these applications allow you to put in what's known as a virtual background. So just to give you an idea, and I know you're familiar with this because you've seen people with virtual backgrounds, probably some of you are using them right now. But what I did, I created a very simple logo for my company that I don't know if you see that in a tile square, but if you pin the video on your computer, you'll see my background. If I was giving a presentation, I might want my logo of my company to appear there. I like having a solid background. This is just my own personal preference sometimes. When you're talking to people and there's nothing behind you but just solidness, then you stand out and the focus has to be on you. And if you're the mediator, I think that's a good thing. So I even like just a solid color as a background. Could have your name on it, your name of your company if you wanted. Very simple to make. I use Adobe Illustrator, which is a graphic arts software package, but anybody could make that for you. If you really had no technological background and you wanted something simple like that, you could go on to a website called Fiverr, Fiverr. There's other websites out there. You could pay somebody $15 to make something for you. A very simple $10. Somebody can make something like that in no time for you. So there's ways to get around it if you don't have the the skill yourself to do something like that, if that's something you wanted. Another thing.
Larry, Lawrence, you went on to mute.
Yeah, I did it. You know what is, every time my cursor goes over there, it ends up clicking the mute thing. Let me just show you another idea of a virtual background.
Something just came out from Jody Davis. She says she uses, hold on, I'll get it back up again. Pickmonkey.com and Ribbit, RIBBET.com. So
those might be websites where you can get virtual screens.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And there's another one that I put in the thing called Unsplash. They have free ones that you can download. So here's a brick wall. I think I even have one like I look like I'm talking from, my home in a library. And here's one like, if I want to do mediation from the courtroom, right? I could say, hey, look, the judge is away. I have the courtroom now. Let's get this thing going, you know? So I could play around like that if necessary. But something very simple to me is the best. Like here's paneling. Looks like I'm in a wood office or something like that, you know, paneling. I personally like the idea of keeping things very simple and not distracting in the background so that the focus has to be on you talking. And the reason I like that is because I got it only because when I was watching some YouTube videos one day on something, you know, there was a very simple background, like I was just showed you, the color one or something like this. And to me, it was like I was focused on whatever the guy was saying. And it just makes you go right there. Whereas opposed to a lot of distraction in your home office, right? If you're doing it from your dining room table or maybe your home office, it can be really just distracting for lack of a better word. So
Larry, let me show the use of a virtual background with no green screen, so you can see the difference in what it looks like. So here is, let's see. This is one I got off the internet today for free. And I think it looks pretty good. It's something that I would feel comfortable with using as a background because it looks fairly clean, but you can see the quality of the video is, you know, there's all glimmery around here. So I would not do this without a green screen. It's just not good enough.
Yeah, and I also wanted to just show you. So here's what a green screen looks like, right? I mean, that's what's behind me right now, just a green screen. And
Right.
if you're not familiar with the technology, the reason that this is what all the weathermen use, right? When they're showing you the weather, it's because green is not something you typically wear a color, so that when the software that's behind the scenes takes out the color, they take out the color green because you typically don't wear green clothes. One thing you cannot do is wear green clothes with a green screen because you're going to never get the right image. So and you've also, green screens will also come in blue. They make them blue. It doesn't have to be a green screen. The one I actually bought, believe it or not, is green on one side and it's blue on the other side. So if there was a situation where you had to wear green, you could flip the screen around and it's blue. It doesn't have to be green screen, but that is the technology in the industries. You'll always hear green screen technology. Now, another trick you can do to make your office or your background look cool is you can take a picture of your actual office. Let's say you're working from home now because of the pandemic. You could, if you have a nice office and you wanted to do it from there, but for some reason it's just more comfortable for you to work from home and you have to work from home now, go into your office, take a nice picture of your office as if you were sitting in the desk, right? And then just put your background of your office behind you. Because I had a friend who did that. I thought it was a great idea. You know, he literally now holds all his meetings remotely, and he looks like he's sitting at his desk in his office, but it's really just a photo of his office behind him. So you could play around and get clever like that. Let's see, what else do I want to say? The other thing about background that's important is, and Carl's going to get into this with lighting, but you do want to make sure that if you're using a green screen, that it's lit up well, because you don't want to have one part of the green screen behind you in the shadows and the other part lit up nicely, because then the effect is going to be a little bit distorted. So, and Carl will talk about lighting, but that's just one of the things that I know from my own experience of trying to use the green screen. Right now I'm in a home office where the wind, you know, I get sun coming in pretty decently that lights things up. But when the sun goes down, or if it's really cloudy, I can see a difference in how I appear on the green screen because my lighting isn't lighting up the background of the green screen. And what's important with green screen technology is that the light should be behind you, but in front of the green screen. Because if the light is coming in front of me brightly, and then there's a green screen behind me, I'm gonna create shadows on the green screen. So the concept is you are here, the light is behind you, but in front of the green screen. So that lights up the green screen without shadows and makes it more effective. You don't have to get overly stressed out about what I'm telling you, like all this stuff. It's not complicated stuff. And if you don't have the lights, if you need to buy lights to make it a little better, like Carl's going to talk about lighting, you can do this inexpensively, okay? But just wanted to bring to your attention that background and setting is really important for any online mediation, I think, and that you can, for very relatively inexpensive investment, just be aware of making yourself look very streamlined, very simple, and very effective when you're talking. You know, as we talk about, you put a mic on, you put a decent background, and now when you're doing your online mediation, you know, when they tune in to talk to you, you've got a nice presence, as opposed to pillows and cats jumping and you know, the kitchen, the dishes on the table, or the laundry in the background, or whatever, or your paperwork. Even if it's a busy office, I might show you what it looks like when I can take my green screen away, and maybe I'll do that while Carl's doing the next thing. And behind me, it's really cluttered, you know, and
Well,
it looks
just take it
terrible.
down. Larry, take it down now.
All right, I'll take it down right now.
And Lynn has a question that says, I have a space limitation at home these days with everyone home, no home office. Can I use a white screen? I assume you mean a green screen, but yes. And so Larry is going to take down his green screen. Now that's what his...
I actually meant, can I actually have an old white movie screen?
No, you can't use a white screen. It has to be green or blue. So,
Okay.
So Larry.
Difference of what it looks like if I was just sitting at my home office, which is pretty cluttered back there, right?
Larry, that looks good.
Looks good.
And also, I don't know if you noticed, but you know, I was wearing shorts too. I don't know if that saw that or not when I walked away. But you know, that's the beautiful part about working from home. You know, like I'm usually in a t-shirt, but I remembered, oh, I gotta do something, so I put on a shirt. But with the right background, it just looks like you're at your office.
Yeah, I mean, that's not overly neat behind you. So you wouldn't want to use that as your office, right?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. No, whenever I do any business from home, I always have my green screen there so that I look a little bit cleaner than what it looks like.
So what a difference between having a green screen, having something up as a background that is professional looking, as opposed to this, or as opposed to saying, you know, I have to do it out of my bedroom. Well, no one's going to know it's a bedroom if you have a green screen up and you have something else. You know, if you pick your background wisely, it's going to be good. So
now, the other thing I want to mention also is that when you go on a Zoom call, there's an option in the settings that says, you know, I have a virtual, and that's how you would set it up. Like there's an option that says I have a green screen. If you don't, you'll see that some people can still use the green screen technology without actually buying the green screen. But I haven't seen too many people be able to pull that off. It's a function of your computer. And I think your computer has to have certain requirements or technology built in to allow for that to happen. I tried to do that just to see if I could get that without the green screen, but it comes back with an error message. Your computer is not capable of supporting that technology. So I would venture to say that that's probably only available on probably the new state of the art, the latest and greatest computers maybe have that capability. I don't know how they pull that off, quite frankly, without having the green screen, but that is a possibility that you don't need to do that. But I think for most people's computers, you're going to end up not being able to support that without the actual green screen. But just want to throw that out there because there is some way to do that apparently, but I think it really
Excuse me, Larry.
Yeah.
This, I don't know if you can tell me if you like mine. That is a picture of an office that I downloaded for free. That's not with a green screen. It's just sharing a picture in the background. I don't know if you like it, but
yeah, that's fine. I mean, it looks like
it's an office. It's no green screen. It just looks like an office, and I've been using it when I need an office because I thought it looks like an office, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to sitting in my basement right now, which looks like a mess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that looks like, it looks fine. It's coming across sharp from my perspective. It's all going to be a matter of your own personal preference, what you like, what you don't like. One of the reasons why I got the green screen is because I'm also making videos. You know, I'm putting together an online continuing legal education course right now. And so when I'm making videos, the green screen technology allows you to do a lot of things that you can't do if you're just dependent on Zoom's platform to give you the green screen. When you have your own green screen, I can go into any video editing software that I have and play around with it. Otherwise, you're going to always be dependent on Zoom. So that's the other benefit if you really get into this stuff of just having your own control over things.
Right. And for those who don't know, where you find this on Zoom is if you go to where it says stop video, next to the right of that is an up arrow. Click on the up arrow, and then one of the choices should be in the pop-up menu, choose virtual background. If it's not there, and I had that problem last week, you just need to update your software from Zoom, and then it's there. So that's where you would find virtual background, and it lets you either choose some of the ones they have or put your own. So, okay. So
that's it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much I wanted to just cover on background because just to give you time, Carl, to start doing the lighting,
sure.
I think, because we're at 5 to 1. So I think it's a good time
Okay.
for you to jump into the
So
lighting.
let's go to lighting. Lighting should be from the front of you. Overhead lighting is not good because it casts shadows down on your face. Not good. Lighting behind you will wash you out. So it should be in front of you, not from other directions. Natural lighting is the best. I am in a relatively small home office. I have 3 windows. The 2 are south facing, 1 is west facing. And so I have plenty of natural light in this room, and it works fine. So, but if you don't have good lighting, or it gets to the time of day where the lighting isn't adequate enough, you need to supplement your lighting. What's important when you're looking at doing this is you want to have something which is natural light. So they rate the color, the temperature of color on a Kelvin scale. And that runs generally from the old incandescent lights were like 2500, 2700, which is warm looking. Natural light is up around 5,000 to 6,000 Kelvin. And that's where you generally want your lighting to be. So there are a few options. One is just use things that you have. And I'm going to show you 3 lights that we already own. 2 are my wife's and 1 is mine. So here is my, get myself out of here. This is a desk lamp that my wife owns, and it is a fully adjustable. So it can go back and go. So this is a good option if you have a desk to put it on. It has probably 10, 15 brightness levels, and it also has color levels. So that again, you can go from a warm light to a very cool light, the ones in the 5,000 range. This is a nice, very nice lamp, and I'll show you on Amazon what it looks like. This is one I bought at Costco. Same kind of thing. Doesn't have quite as many color brightness levels, but it works pretty well. This one happens to have a fan in the middle, which is so noisy you would never use it. These are each around $30, $35, and they would work very well if you have a desk and you want to put the light behind you. Then there is, my wife has a reading chair, and she has a floor lamp that she uses for that. So let me just, I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. And this light is adjustable. It has a remote control. You can turn it on and off. Right now it's on at a really low level. I could pump it up. I don't know if you can see, hold on. You can see it's sort of, am I getting brighter? I'm getting brighter. I don't need that kind of light. I'm going to put it on real low. I can also change the color of it. You probably won't notice this, but you might. This is a warmer color. This is one for gaming, supposedly, for working with computers. This one is evidently for children, and this is for reading. So you can pick the color that you like, you think is best for you, and it could change, for different people. And again, so the brightness, you can bring it right down. And also another thing that you might want to do, because some of these can be a little glary. This is just cooking parchment paper. I rolled it into a tube. You put it over the light and it diffuses it. It's a really simple fix for a glare problem. So anyway, those are a couple of the simpler light solutions for things that you may already have or you might want to own. But let me show you a couple of others. So let's go to, let's see, where are we? See, this is the one that this is about the one my wife owns and has the remote control, etc. This is really very nice. We purchased that March 15th of 2019. So let's see what else you could do. Now here's another option that is popular. It's called a ring light. And they come both with this a small tripod that you can put on your desk, or you can have a larger tripod that comes with it and you put it on the floor. And those are LED lights around it. You can have different colors and there are different rings so that you get that different color, the natural light, which is like in the 5,000 Kelvin, that would be the top one. And they get warmer, has a remote, it's a sticky thing. And you can actually, if this one, you can either put your smartphone or your webcam in the middle of it. And the idea of this is going to give you good light in front of you so that it's going to not cast shadows, etc. And since it's controllable as the light level, this is another good one. I have not used these, but I've read a lot of reviews about them, and they seem to be pretty good. And really the nice part about almost all of these things when you buy them on.
Let me just say one thing on that.
Yeah.
Like the one that you just showed with the ring, with the
Right.
cell phone in that. Now that ideally the best application for that is if you were taking videos, right? And you're
Right.
using your cell phone to video yourself. So that's a little bit of a different application than doing online mediation, because you're not going to be doing most likely your online mediation with your cell phone as the camera. So that's, the ring light is still may work, but you might, from a practical standpoint, if you need to use your laptop, you'd have to have that ring light taller and above the laptop so that, you're lighting yourself up. The way that diagram there was just showing it, that's not going to be the way that it would work for the mediation, but with a taller tripod, you might be able to get that ring light up higher so that it's lighting you up.
Yeah, as I said, they come with larger tripods, and so that you could see. I don't have one with a larger, but they're larger. And of course, buying these things on Amazon is great because almost all of them have free returns now. You know, you get it, see if you like it. If you don't like it, you can send it back. So that's another option. And you can put not only your smartphone in the middle, but you can put your webcam. I haven't tried these because we have the other ones, but there's certainly options I would consider if you have a lighting problem. Unfortunately, that's sort of like a single-use product. It's not like the lights that we have, which are actually used for other things. So, Brad asks, has anyone had experience with Hue, H-U-E, the lights that are controllable, you control? I don't know anything about them.
You know what I want to mention, Carl, before I forget, when you were talking about webcams, which might be something to think about. Of course, webcams are so difficult to come by these days, so this might be a moot point, but the webcam I'm using right now, just so you're aware, this is an old webcam. It's got to be 10 years old. It's showing in 720p, that's the resolution. The newer webcams and some of the better ones are going to be at 1080p, which is a higher resolution. It's going to be a little clearer, but I just wanted you to be aware of that because I think Carl, you have a 1080p webcam that you use, right? And
yeah.
And I personally, to me, it looks crisper than my webcam. And my webcam right now, I don't have my lighting set up right now because I just had to switch some things around and I haven't set it up. But Carl's lit up, I think, a little nicer than I am today. And you can see him probably a little clearer, but that's also a function, not just of the lighting, but his webcam is a little clearer, more crystal than my 720. That being said, you can still get away with a 720p resolution webcam and still make a decent, presentation of yourself. So there might be some, you might want to think, if you're looking for a webcam, there might be some 720p older versions. This is a Logitech 270 model. Like I said, it's probably 10 years old, but this was $30. That might still be out there at a really decent price right now because it's older, but if you need a stopgap solution, that might be something temporarily that you might consider. So I want to throw that out.
Someone suggests try eBay. That's always a choice, always possible. I just have been unable to find them no matter where I look, other than the ones that are no brand, and I'm not sure how well they would work. So anything else in the formal part, Lawrence?
No, I think there was one thing I wanted to mention just in terms of using the webcam as your, using the cell phone as your webcam that you went over earlier. There is a website called Eichen, that's I-R-I-U-N. One of the links that Carl's going to be sending out is to a YouTube video of a guy who shows you how to use your cell phone, either your iPhone or even it works for Androids also. And the website is Eichen, I-R-I-U-N. They have an app for free. You download the app for your cell phone, you download the app on your desktop or your laptop, and you have to make sure you're both, using the same Wi-Fi, and then bang. I just did it today before this presentation. I just went on just to check it out for myself, and in 10 minutes, I was using my cell phone as a webcam. It's so easy, just downloading both, and then it found it, and next thing you know, it's, oh, there it is. So just wanted to throw that out because there's a link to a YouTube video, but I didn't put the name of the company. You'd see it probably on the YouTube video, but just in case you're taking notes. That's all I have for the formal part on my end, Carl. Oh, one other thing I was going to say, if you're buying tripods for stands and things, right? I'll tell you what I found is they have these like sandbags that photographers use that are nice. They're like cloth, $7 on eBay. I actually have one that I bought because my green screen, every once in a while, just with the way things were, sometimes my fan was doing it. All of a sudden it was starting to go over, potentially tip. So you take a little sandbag. Now you could use a dumbbell if you have weights at home. I use that too. But I decided to be a mention by a sandbag. So if I ever was traveling with it, I don't have to take a dumbbell with me. And for $7, it put it right on the legs of the tripod stand, and it won't tip over. So that might be something to think about if you're buying things that are standing up tall.
So, you know, if you looked at, you only have a sound problem, you could solve that for $25 or $30. If you add some lights on it, you might be spending another $30, $50. If you, I don't know how you're going to solve your webcam, but if it's a smartphone, the one I'm using, the app I'm using comes free, but if you want to have good video, it's all of $4.99. You know, from a low of $25 up to a couple of $100, you would be completely set up so that you could be doing home online mediation in a very professional way. Now compare that to buying a printer or buying a laptop or paying rent or doing anything else that you do in your business life. This is a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer to look really professional. So,
and one last thing, Carl, by the way, I forgot to mention on lighting. If you really want to look at cheap alternatives for lighting too, I just went to Walmart the other day to buy a fishing license. And in preparation for this call, I looked at some lighting. There's shop lights in Home Depot, Walmart, $20, LED with a stand. You can get them. The stand, I think the stand was separate. That was like another $20. But you could buy LED 1000 lumens, which is very bright, right at Home Depot or Walmart. And you can avoid, you know, all this other stuff on Amazon if you know, you could go to these stores and touch and feel them. You know, sometimes people like to shop and see things. Just another suggestion. I've seen that on the internet, people using things like that. And just throwing that out there too. That actually, I gave that in the link of the ones that they had at Walmart, but very inexpensive solution to getting really high light put out. I mean, that 1000 looms is really bright. They make them like 2,500 too. That I don't think you need that for sure. I think 1,000 was plenty. And they make them both corded and cordless. What?
Yeah, just be careful about the color temperature and whether you can, you're always running at full light because sometimes it can just blow you out. So anyway, okay, so let's go to the next part. This is where, if you would like us to look at your situation and tell you what we see as to the things that you need to do, we would be glad to do that. So if you want to do that, raise your hand. Anyone? Anju, okay. Unmute yourself. You're still muted.
You're still
no,
muted.
You're on mute, Andrew. Can't hear you.
Check your audio settings. You might not be tied into the mic you're using. I think, Lynn, the way you raise your hand is you raise your hand.
Like that. Or you can go to participants. And can you raise your hand there? No, you can't. Okay.
All right.
This is my webcam sound. You can hear me on my webcam, right?
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, the mic that I have plugged in is not working. Not sure why. But this is the this is the sound from my webcam.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is a a webcam. So this is not my computer.
Are you asking to see what it sounds like?
I'm asking how does it sound to you?
Go back, and you have to first of all talk and go between the two.
So this is the lav mic. Can you hear the lav mic now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the lav mic. Okay, and this is the webcam.
Yeah, the lav mic is definitely better.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a richer sound.
Okay, so the problem I had the first time is I wasn't clicking on the right link. It was the one that supposedly says microphone array pluggable US audio device. So a lot of the challenge with all this technology is knowing to click on the right setting. But if I were to use the camera on my PC, it's really not very good. So this is
Yeah, it's not good.
This is me on this is my PC. You can see what a difference the webcam makes versus my PC.
Yes.
So going back to that. It's pretty bad, right?
Yes.
Okay, Lynn, did you,
Okay, so I'll mute myself. But you can see how much better the lav mic is.
yeah, it's definitely noticeably a lot better. Lynn, you need to unmute yourself before you.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask you is, now this is using the the virtual background. I don't have a green screen. Is this, I wouldn't use this background for mediation, but is this sufficient?
Well, I mean, it's sufficient for what? Sufficient for,
Do a mediation. Well, okay, I'm probably going to have to do it out of my bedroom because of space limitations. So I obviously do not want anybody seeing my bedroom. I don't want to see my bedroom. It's such a mess. I would have to use a virtual background, or I'd have to use a green screen. So if possible, I'd like to just rely on the virtual background and maybe upload the office picture or something. Is this sufficient?
yeah, I think you answered your own question there, because you definitely don't want to do a mediation looking like you're out there, and it's just not the right look and feel in my view.
Right,
I think people in front of you wouldn't want that either. So just go to one of these free websites and download a picture, or play around. You could take a picture yourself, but if you don't even want to do that, just go to one of these websites, download a picture, and test it out. You can test out Zoom, right? You just start a meeting for yourself, right? And then you get to see what you would look like with your background. You don't have to wait for a meeting.
Yeah, well, my question is, do I need a green screen? If I have this ability to do the virtual background, do I need to have a green screen?
I think it depends on what it looks like. If you see around your head all kind of frizziness or whatever you call it, where it's not blending right, then you do. If you're looking artificial, if you're looking like that's an artificial background, it just doesn't look good, yeah, you do.
So do I look frizzy? Do I look frizzy to you now? I mean,
no, it doesn't look bad, but that's a hard background to look at.
Yeah.
So if you had a different background, you just have to look at it. And what kind of camera are you using?
I'm using, let me just see here. This is a little bit different here.
See that one, on this one, you can definitely see around the top of your head, it's white, etc. You can tell it's not real. I mean, it's not a real green screen. You're just.
Can you pick a background that doesn't move? Part of the problem is in moving. It's hard to really see what you're doing.
Yeah, that was just.
I don't have a lot of backgrounds on my computer at this point. So
what kind of webcam are you using?
I'm just using the one that's in the computer.
And what kind of computer is it?
It's a Dell. I think I don't know computers very well, but I inherited it from my son who upgraded. So I think this is a pretty good computer that he didn't think was sufficient.
I would say that it's not, as a webcam, it doesn't blow me away. You know,
Okay.
you could definitely use a better camera.
But I would just add that it doesn't look terrible, Lynn, at all. I think the key will be if you get yourself a still background, something
Right.
that's not moving, and
Mhm.
just play around with a couple of photos and play around yourself. I think you're going to be fine. I mean, yes, you can always do better. You know, we can always upgrade and all that. But the goal is just to make sure that it looks decent. You know, that's the first thing. Let's just get it to look decent. So if you just change your background, I think you're going to look decent and fine for purposes of the mediation. And then when you have the time and the market is there, you can upgrade accordingly. But just get your background set up. So your main stress is, I'm going to be doing it in my bedroom. I don't want anyone to see my bedroom. So just spend 20 minutes, half an hour, and get your photo that you need. And then you can relax, say, okay, it's not perfect, but it's certainly good enough for what I need, and then just do the mediation.
Okay, and as far as the sound, I mean, I think I will order the microphone, but if I don't get it, I have a mediation scheduled in a few days. If I don't get it, how does my sound?
You sound fine for, yeah, you don't sound terrible at all. You sound like I can hear you clearly. So you don't have to panic about that either, but you can get the microphone when you can, and it'll just make it a little bit better, but you sound fine. You do sound fine.
Thank you.
And a lot of times with the sound, you don't realize it until you start hearing somebody else who has a mic. And then you're like, oh, wow, that sounds better than what we just don't know what we sound like normally. But when you hear people with good mics, it makes a difference, especially on like podcasting, right? Where sound is so critical. That's why I've become more attuned to sound, because podcasting, if it doesn't sound good, you know, nobody wants to listen to it. Right. Same thing, I think, though, with online mediation. You really want to come across clear. Nobody wants to struggle to hear anybody.
Right. Jody, did you say you wanted to test? I'm not sure what you meant, but go ahead. Where are you, Jody?
Okay, there I am.
Okay, there you are.
Just plugged in my webcam. I have a Logitech.
Yes.
I didn't really think to use it because I actually have a pretty good computer that's pretty brand new and that I had ordered from HP according to specs that I wanted. So it's a pretty good one, I think, without, but I'm looking now, which Anju just commented on. I'm now using the webcam, and to me, the light looks softer. You know, in other words, the whole picture seems softer. So let me see.
Are you sure you're on the webcam?
I just switched.
Okay, you did it by, you went to the settings by video.
Yes.
Okay, because your video looks like you have a connection problem.
Okay.
Your connection's not that good because there's a little freezing going on.
Okay. This is the HP True Vision. Let me switch back. Okay, so that's my HP's camera.
That's not good.
Right?
That's not good at all.
Okay.
Yeah, you're cutting now. Do you have it set? You have it set for virtual background, but you can see what's going on with your image, right? You're cutting out. Your hair moves away every once in a while. Your shoulders are gone. So that you don't want to have happen.
So take it off the virtual background.
Okay, so I took it off. All right, so right now, and I also just practiced with a light. I have this nice desk light that I put on because I'm with hi-hats. I'm in my basement. And so let me brighten it up a little again so you see the difference. I have the hi-hats on dim.
No, you're blowing out.
1 second. I'll get back. So now, how is that?
Pretty terrible.
It is.
Honestly, first of all, this webcam is significantly worse than the other one. With that overhead lighting, you're getting all this glare coming down, and this is not good. So it's, I think, a combination, but I'm also worried about, do you have are you hooked into Wi-Fi?
I'm hooked into Wi-Fi. No,
Yeah,
I'm actually hooked into my Ethernet. I'm directly plugged into my
Oh,
Ethernet.
okay. Well, then, I would go to the other camera,
Okay. Which camera? The webcam or the non-webcam?
the webcam.
Okay.
What's blocking you a little bit? There's something in the corner that in your image, like, okay.
Probably my hand or something. I don't know. I have the wire a little off. Okay. It's a little cumbersome, this webcam. I have another one, but I just went upstairs. I have two webcams, but I just grabbed this one. The one that's hooked up to my desktop is, I think, a little bit better, so I might switch it out. But they're both Logitechs. Okay, so this is the webcam, or did we say it's not? I lost track already. Let me see. This is the Logitech webcam. Okay, and minus the lighting issue, which, I'll try to figure out what to do with. This is the, this is the Logitech. This is my HP. Something's blocking it again. Oh, this is blocking it.
Yeah, the HP is not good.
Okay, because it's blurry. It's like snowy, right?
It's, yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just really poor quality.
Okay. All right, so now we go back. So the webcam, at least I have another one. I can't run and grab it right now because it's connected to my desktop upstairs. But this is, you're saying this is better.
It's better, but it doesn't seem.
Not great.
No, it's really not.
Okay,
Not for an external webcam.
Did you put a desk lamp on again?
Sure. A little more light. Now, where I have it positioned, I'm on a raised stand, so I don't have a whole lot of room. This is actually a very heavy desk lamp that kind of goes up and down. So I have to get something maybe a little different, but this is at least more light.
Is that where you'd be thinking of conducting or are you just doing this for today's, you're sitting downstairs? It looks like you're on a couch or something.
I am on a couch because, again, this has all been makeshift. I'm in my basement. I have a coffee table in front of me that normally I have a lot of my papers on. But, for me, I'm a therapist, so I mostly see clients, and they haven't been complaining about my setup at all. They're used to seeing me on my big chair in my office, but
Okay.
I didn't bring it home yet. I'm not sure what I'm doing with it, but I didn't bring it home yet. That's a very nice chair, but I'm not sure whether I'm bringing it home.
Yeah, it actually seems large part of it out of focus.
Huh.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem
Closer?
very sharp,
Okay.
and I don't know why.
Is that any better?
It looks a little better to me.
A little.
Okay, so it's the closeness of where I'm sitting. Probably if I sat, I have a desk over there. So probably if I sat over there, it would be even closer.
I think
Yeah.
a desk would help because it just brings you up a little taller. I think your whole presentation of yourself would be better at a desk with the
Right.
laptop.
And
I think
and
I
regular
think it gets tricky to get things right when you're sitting on a couch
Yes.
and a coffee table. I think it just lends itself. Don't forget, these products and things, they're usually made for people at a desk. So the camera angle might just fit better, just even with the laptop, just sitting on a flat surface on a desk, and you being on a chair. I don't know that for sure, but I'm just thinking it might help your situation just a little bit.
Yeah, I might, again, my office chair is just sitting there. I might bring it home. I'm not in my office, so I may as well enjoy it. But I thought that this was okay, but I appreciate the feedback. I hadn't thought of even using the webcam because, again, I thought that it was okay. People haven't said, oh, Jody, I can't see you well. in the screen. So this is helpful.
You
Yeah,
could bring
well, you know-
somebody was just saying on the chat, you could try a kitchen chair. You don't need necessarily take your office chair. Just take a chair from anywhere in your house. The dining
Right.
room table might be a chair that you could use. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that'll work
Yeah.
from
Couches
just to fit
generally
into
don't.
the visual of the
Yeah.
camera.
Couches don't generally work because you sink down into them.
Right.
And it's, plus you're seeing a lot of couch around you.
No,
which
I
I
know.
think-
It's true.
Which is, I think, throwing off the focus a little bit. Because it
Right.
looks like it's focusing on the back of your couch rather than on you.
Right.
So I don't know if that's part of the problem.
And that's why I did the virtual. I just grabbed one of my screens. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's helpful. Is that better?
I would first try a better location with
Right.
a table and a regular chair and see how that works.
Okay, great.
I
Thanks.
actually think I think I like your virtual. If you get your virtual where you don't screw it up, where you were cutting out your shoulder and your hair and all that stuff. But
Right.
I think the solid blue background right now, if you ask me to choose between your couch and that, I'd take the blue in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I
Don't
would
have
too.
any background screens. Again, I use it for PicMonkey, so I have a lot of things that I can play with, because the blue that you have is a solid blue. The one that I use, that I just grabbed for a second, has that brightness to it in the center, and I think that's probably throwing things off too.
Yeah, because when you move your hands or your head, everything's getting all screwed up. So you got to really play around with that. But I would try to find something instead of your couch.
Okay, thanks.
All right, it's 1:28. We are at the 2-minute warning. Is there anybody has a quick question or something before we?
Mark,
Is
do you
this
have a-
background okay?
Looking at you, Mark, your camera is too low. You need to be moving it up because it looks like it needs to be higher. Unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself? There, okay.
Is it about this height?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Where
Okay.
are your hands?
Holding the laptop.
Aha, why are you holding, oh, you're holding it up.
Yeah.
Yes, that's better. Hold it up a little higher, just a little higher. Yeah, that's a much better level.
Okay.
Okay,
The setting all right?
yeah, what kind of webcam do you have? Is it built in?
Now it's over my head, the questions.
Oh, okay. Now, but
It's
again,
my daughter's laptop and she's not here.
yeah, try to get the camera really above a little bit above your eyes, the camera on the webcam,
Okay.
okay, which is in the top usually, the top lid.
Yeah.
So
That
if
would
you
have-
get it a little bit above, that's good.
Okay.
See, and
All
you
right,
don't
very
have
good.
your background is fine. I think if you were going to do that as a background, I think that is would be fine to do a business. What do you think, Lawrence?
It's a little dark to me. I don't know if the lights are
Well,
on in your office or
right.
not. The actual background that he has is fine too. I mean, it's not too busy.
No.
It just depends on how well yeah.
Can I-
See, now that
can I-
looks better. You could probably stack your laptop on some books or something, or some
Yeah.
coffee mugs or something.
Can I try one lighting?
Yeah.
Where's the light from?
Top.
Yeah, see, that's not good lighting. So what you really need to
One other change.
okay.
Is that any better? No,
Did you say, Mark, did you say it was the built-in camera in the laptop that you're under right now?
I think that's, yeah, there's nothing else here.
Yeah, so I think you would probably well, just, it seems like maybe an external webcam might help you. I don't know how old your laptop is, but it doesn't look like a great, doesn't look as sharp or as clean as it could, but it's not terrible. You just need a little light just to light you up a little bit. You're a little dark to me, but the
It should
background
be
of
a
your
desk lamp, right?
yeah, something. You could shoot the desk lamp up maybe, or you could play around with the lighting somehow, but your background in the office looks fine, looks very clean. Just a couple of simple photos, and you're right now kind of centered much better than when you started. So you're on your way. You just need a tweak or two on the lighting, I think could really help you out. And, you know, and then the sound sounds okay.
Yeah.
The lav mic would obviously help you out a lot.
Look at this kind of light on Amazon when you see the link. It
There's
really,
a similar lamp. I have a similar lamp in the next room. and,
okay. Well, that's good.
okay.
Try something like this where you can adjust it.
Mhm.
See, right now with you have overhead and it's casting a shadow right on your forehead.
Yeah,
And not
right,
shadow.
right,
You're
right,
getting glare.
Like
right.
just look, just curiosity, see where Andrew is sitting and where you're sitting. If you look at Andrew's box, she looks way more lit up than you do, right? You see, like she looks coming clean, like
Right.
there's a lot of light where she is, where you are. There's a big difference right there, right? If I'm
Right.
looking at you and looking at her, it's a lot easier to see her right now.
Okay.
That's what you want to get to, something like that, where it's, Carl's another good example. His lighting is really good. It just makes it a lot nicer.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so we have run through our time. I hope you have enjoyed today's program. If you have issues, that you want some help with respect to other things, please send them to Lawrence or to me, because this is, I said, the first in a series, and we'd like to do others and to be helpful. And with that, thank everyone for joining us today. We had fun, at least I had fun. I was hoping you all did too. So take care and have a great week. Thank you, Larry.
Thanks for your time.
Lawrence, thank you.
It was terrific. It's great to figure out what we look like and try to get self-centered with the right light. Thank you.
Okay.
No background I've ever had.
Thanks, Lawrence. Take care.
All right, Carl. Thank you too. So long, everybody.